Well, this morning I'm chatting with Nick Sinclair. Nick Sinclair is the founder of TOA Global. Now, TOA, if you haven't heard of it, if you're in finance or accounting, you definitely should have. But if you haven't, TOA is the world's largest offshoring business for accounting firms. An incredible job, incredible business. So we're going to crack into the conversation. You're listening to This is Business. Cool. Well, welcome. You may not have heard me before on this podcast. I've come in as one of the hosts on This is Business. You might have heard me on some of the other podcasts. This is business. This is work or money. But this morning I have the incredible privilege of chatting to Nick. Nick, how are you, mate?
Good, mate. Thanks for having me. Super excited to be here.
Yeah, pleasure. We connected only a short while ago. We're both part of a business community. We met over in beautiful Queenstown. Great place. And we just got chatting, and I was like, I need to talk more to this guy. You've built an incredible business, but more than that, I was drawn to some of the personal reflections that you had as well, because as we know in business, it's not just business. It impacts your whole life. And so I want to kind of cover a range of questions today, if it's okay with you, and really just get a grasp of Nick. But why don't we start with just a 30-second, who is Nick?
Yeah, father of three, husband, and been in business since I was 21. So I ran a financial planning and accounting business, then sort of fell into building offshore teams, currently training for a half Ironman. So 7 weeks away. So the pain is real, and love sports and I just love the game of business.
That's incredible. But why don't we touch on that? The half Ironman, that wasn't just a natural, I'm going to wake up and do a half Ironman. It's kind of been a bit of a journey up until this point. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I've spoken about it publicly with clients and our community for probably 10 years, but I was 54 kilos heavier 18 months ago. So gone through a huge transformation from my weight and just the physical side to the point now where I'm, fit, healthy, and been in training for a bit over 12 months now for the ultimate. Half is the first step. I want to do a full Ironman in the next 12 to 18 months. That's the real goal. This is just the proving that I can get it done.
Well, you look great. Well done. That is no mean. That is a mean feat to be able to kind of drop that weight. Now let's dive into a few questions. You've spoken about building a business that gives you freedom. What was the turning point that kind of made you reimagine work and leadership in your team? What's your kind of founder story, if you will?
It's an interesting one because like I said, I love the game of business and it's an infinite game, so it just never ends. It's not like sport where you win or you lose and then the season's done. And it was something that I just kept playing it and I kept playing it. And every time we grew more, I reimagined what we could be, and then I'd go after that. And I got in this cycle of just chasing growth. You're winning awards, your revenue's growing, and everything's, amazing in that side of it. But you're always busy and you're always just doing it. You're always playing the game. And it was about 18 months ago when just around that triggered, the weight loss came from this same conversation. So we had our first advisory board meeting. We put together an advisory board, flew to America because we've got offices over there. And the advisory board came in. The night before the advisory board meeting, my CEO resigned. He'd been with me for 5 years. He said, look, I've taken us from 670 staff to, 3,500. I can't take us to the next stage, and I'm not willing to do the travel and the time commitment to be away from my family to get us to the next step. And we were close, I was in the Cheesecake Factory in Fort Worth, Texas. So I remember exactly the seat we're sitting in. It rattled me, to be honest. And then the next day we met with the advisory board we'd put together and had to tell them straight away at the dinner. Like the first thing we did was have a dinner with them, and then the next day we started. And I said, "Oh, look, we've got some news. I don't know how this is going to change what we do over the next few days, but our CEO's just resigned."
Wow!
And they were all pretty shocked as well because one of them was he's coached me now for 7 years, but he also coached our CEO, so he was quite shocked as well. But over the next 2 days, they basically looked at our business like a PE/investment company would.
Okay.
And I'd always said, look, I don't care about, profit. I care about I'm earning enough money to be able to live the lifestyle I want.
Yeah.
The rest of it for me, I've got a 20, 30-year outlook. Like I don't really care about those metrics.
And were you full majority as well?
Yeah.
Only?
Yeah. So
perfect.
employees have got some employee shares within it. So I've got about 88% of it.
Yep.
So there's a few minors within that. But it was something that it didn't really bother me, and I was going after growth, and really growth at all sake, to be honest. And over the next 2 days, they completely pulled apart our business. Like all I heard was discount this, discount that, discount this. If you were to die next year, Nick, because you're overweight and you're not the healthiest shape you've ever been in, like your family's they're gonna get something, but it's not going to be what you actually think it's worth right now.
Wow.
And we'd built an amazing business, and our growth rate's been over 25% for 12 plus years. Like the growth chart is through the roof, like it hockey sticks. But if you look at the profit and EBITDA, it was like a flat line. It was up and down. It was like, But that wasn't the focus. And they really just pulled that across. And I was working enormous hours. I had a CEO in the business, but I was like a co-CEO. I was still working 60 hours a week.
Yep.
And the advisory board said to me at the end, look, Nick, you need to either step away completely, bring in a new CEO that can actually run the business without your interference, or step back in because there is no successor right now, test the successor that you think, and refocus the business to balance growth and profitability.
Yep.
And you need to get your whole life in order, not just, business can't be everything and it can't be a game. We're $100+ million business at that stage. We had, over 4,000 team members. It can't be a game because there's too many people's lives that are part of this game. So it really made me take a step back and look at where I was in life, where I wanted to be, and it just changed my perspective in a lot of ways. So I completely shifted my focus from, 100% growth, where growth for growth's sake, and, I put everything into it. I shouldn't be doing all this. We're 4,000 people. We've got 500 team members working for the business that work for our clients and team members. And I'm buried in doing work. Like, I'm overweight. It's not an example for our team. I don't have a balanced life. And we're a big business. Like, why? And I had to really challenge that question. And I got advice from a bunch of my mates that are successfully run great businesses that I just thought were lazy because they didn't work as much. I really challenged that with my coach. I was like, where am I going wrong? Where am I going right? Like, I have a passion for what I do, which is why I could work all the time. But I realized that I was probably getting in the way, and I wasn't, we had some really capable leaders. And if I just got out of the way and let them do what they do, we're probably going to be better off. And, fast forward a little bit. I know this story's gone on for a little bit, but fast forward, I put in a COO. Within a couple of months, he was basically running the business. He eventually succeeded me after 9 months. I thought I'd step back in as CEO for 18 to 24 months.
Yep.
After 9 months, I was out. He was running it. I meet with him 1 hour a week now.
And he's still CEO.
Yeah, he's running it now. He's running the business. I meet with him about an hour and a half every week. I mentor a few of the leaders. I'm involved in the strategy, but that's it. Like, I'm completely out of the day-to-day, and I'm more from a strategic mentoring and leadership. And funny things happened during that 18 months, coming up to 2 years now since we had that advisory board meeting. Our growth rate hasn't slowed. Profitability's gone through the roof, and the business is more calm than it ever has. And we've got amazing leaders, and we continue to attract amazing talent. Like, the whole business shifted in 18 months because I stepped back.
What did that do? Because I imagine sitting in the cheesecake shop over in the States, being confronted with a CEO, just step down. There is there would be an ego shift over the next 24 hours of you're really confronted with some stuff, not only like personally and your weight and your lifestyle, but also, are you the right guy to run this thing? What was that like?
It was interesting because for 2 days they pulled apart the business that, is my baby. They told me that the baby's ugly for 2 days and they showed me every defect, like everything that was wrong with it.
Wow.
So, it was a real realization. And to be honest, I argued, rebutted,
of course.
Didn't want to listen to it really.
It's not that ugly, I promise.
Yeah, like I tried to justify a lot of it and over the couple of days I almost pushed back a fair bit. Like I mean, if you ask anyone in that advisory board, they're probably like, yeah, Nick just didn't get it. Like he didn't quite get it. He was trying to justify everything. Yeah. But it was over the month or two after that when I stepped back in and I was like, you know what, they're 100% right. I wish I saw that 18 years ago because we had some amazing leaders on that journey that we probably burnt because we didn't let them reach their full potential because we're smothering them. Well, I was. I was seagull managing. I was all over them, micromanaging someone that's completely capable. And, I didn't have a balanced life. And now that I've got this space and I've got this time freedom and this leverage, the ideas, my impact is so much more. Yeah. Like so much more. But and I look at, I've coached a bunch of founders and mentor a lot of leaders and it's the same problem. Everyone's stuck doing the work and they don't realize that, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Yeah. And space gives you this, you can just function at such a better level without doing as much. Less is more.
Yeah. It's an interesting lesson because I run a company called Run Gopher and we're in the AI space. We've spoken about this, and it feels like every day the world is kind of pushing in against us because the industry is just so quick. But it's a difficult lesson to remember the fundamentals of business don't change and this like slow is fast, even in an industry that's moving quickly. Yeah. It's such a good point. If for someone that's listening to this that's just started a business and they're like, hang on a second, this guy's grown this huge business, but there still is a moment where you go, am I the right guy to take this forward? What's the lesson for someone starting business today?
I think the big one is you got to do the work when you start. Like I look back and go, I couldn't be working like I am now when I started. I couldn't have just put in a CEO because we're paying, good money to get really, the best talent. So you got to pay for it. But I think the lesson is work out what you're really good at and double down on that and employ who's to do everything else as soon as you can afford it. So you're going to have to do the work and do the hours. But as soon as you get income, instead of upgrading your lifestyle, upgrade your team and hire people. I think the danger, I look back now and go, I always looked at like, would I spend 80 grand on a team member when I should have been going, how do I get the guy for 140? Yeah. Because that extra 60, while I may not be able to afford it now, is going to make a significant difference. Like my ROI is going to be so much more. So how do I get the best talent, not just the cheapest or talent that will do for now? Yep. And I would have sacrificed more than I did. Yep. Because in the short term, it would have hurt more and would have affected my personal bank account. But long term, it would have meant I had that time freedom and I only did the things that only I can do that I'm most valuable at. Yeah, yeah. It's a good point. We're hiring engineers at the moment and you do want to go, well, I could get this guy for, 150 or I could pay 200, 250. The output is very different. And the headaches are far less if you can afford the top guy. And my dad always said, poor man pays twice, which is very true in hiring. You look at the output of the 2 to 250 versus the output of the 150. And both are good salaries. And some people listening to this are going like 150 is huge. And and it is. But, what you get for 250 is very different to 150. And it's another 8 to 10 grand a month. But work out how you can get it, like how you can afford it. Yeah. Because they'll just fast track. And I think that's what I really realized in business was, ultimately business is the winners have the best talent. Yep. The businesses that win ultimately attract the best talent and drive towards a vision and get the most out of their talent, meaning they're maximizing the potential of people. And, like with sporting teams, you can have a really good player go to a team and they suck.
Yeah.
And then they go to another business and they absolutely flourish and succeed. It's all about the environment and how they're within the team. And for me, that is the biggest thing that I realized is that, look, if you want to win in business, it's who has the best talent and who has them rowing in the right direction and maximizing their potential.
Yeah.
That's the difference between, a really, really good company and an average company or a poor company.
Yeah. Let's pivot a little to what you do at TOA. And so you established this offshoring before, really, it was kind of the buzzword, and now everyone's talking about offshoring. So you established this business, which is to fundamentally help accounting firms with all of the mundane tasks or things that are at that cost per hour is lower than what they should be focusing on face to face. Why did you do that? What was the kind of the moment where you were like, this is the future?
I'd love to say that I saw this, big industry and I saw an opportunity and went after it, but I ran my own financial planning and accounting firm and we were struggling to get talent. We were struggling we were struggling to get talent because we were growing so fast.
Yep.
I started with no client base. We dialed up the marketing. We were different. We were proactive. It wasn't hard to get clients and grow. But we struggled to keep up with maintaining, I suppose, the talent we needed to keep up with that growth. And I was in the Philippines for a advisor or board that I was on with Entrepreneurs Organization, and got to see what was going on there. And I was like, this is our solution. So I set up my own back office for my own business, and then other people in the industry saw what I was doing, and were like, "Well, can we put some people in with you? We don't want to, we're not going to set up in the Philippines." And I then went on a roadshow with a guy called Rob Nixon, who coaches accounting firms, called Capitalizing on the Cloud, and we basically covered 13 cities in 3 weeks, and I'd sold 90 roles, so 90 team members I'd sold over that 3 weeks. It wasn't intended; it was just people kept asking, I kept saying yes.
Yeah.
And then it turned into a business, and then we just grew, 200, 400, 800, and just continued to grow from there. And I had to then exit my other business because I couldn't do both. But I think the big thing is that it just gave us access to a talent pool we didn't have access to.
Yep.
And, a lot of offshoring, when I was on that roadshow, I got booed off the stage most days. When I asked how many of them had global teams at that stage, 1,300 accountants over the 13 cities. And I reckon probably less than 20 firms were doing it. So it was very new. If you ask that now at any accounting conference, like 95% of the rooms got their hands up.
Okay.
So, we helped, I say, transition and bring that into the accounting market and make it, cloud accounting was the real catalyst because it then opened up the ability to have remote and global teams and they didn't need desktops. And then we just facilitated it. But now it's moved to the point where it's not just about the routine and mundane lower level work. It's all levels of work. Like we've got some team members. I had a client last week tell us they're a US firm. Yep. They've got their Philippines team members managing US team members. Like the US team report to them. And it's all levels. They're senior managers. It's all levels of work. So now it's more about where's the best talent globally and how do we plug it in? And that's what we enable and facilitate for our clients.
Yeah. And I guess that is the shift is originally it was how do we find cheap labor to do these mundane tasks?
That was our selling point. Yes. 70% cost saving.
Yep. But now it's and probably COVID has accelerated that where we are fully remote. Like I don't have an office. Everyone's remote in our team. And so you now go on the global stage, who is the best person for this role?
Yep.
And that's huge. That's incredible. And so now there's 4,500, is there?
Yeah, 4,500. We're generally recruiting about 200 roles a month.
Wow.
It's huge demand. And for us, it's about expanding into other countries. We're predominantly Philippines, South Africa.
Yep.
With obviously sales and account management in America and Australia. But we're expanding into other countries, which we'll be announcing in the coming months around. We just want the best talent anywhere in the world.
Yep.
And I think this is the great thing with AI and everything else. Like Google brought out in their Google Meet where like you and I can be talking English and we could be talking to someone in the Philippines and it would be talking in their language, Tagalog.
Yeah.
Like that now opens up non-English speaking countries for talent, which in the past was you'd never imagine doing that.
No.
So these advancements are only going to open up talent pools that we've just never been able to access.
That's incredible. Let's take a short break, and then after the break, I want to talk a little bit more about AI and the business.
If you're after personal financial advice, don't get it from a podcast. But if you want guidance tailored to your situation, head to moneypodcast.com.au and click Get Help. We'll connect you with one of our trusted professionals, financial advisors and mortgage brokers, who work with people right across Australia. No matter where you are, they can help. Now, before we get back to the show, a quick reminder to protect your financial life. That means having income protection sorted. It means having death cover if there's any debt or dependents relying on you. It means getting your personal insurance in order. Most people insure their car, they insure their house, but what about themselves? Sky Wealth, who support this podcast, are specialist financial advisors who can help you get the right cover in place. Their advice is often more comprehensive and better value than going direct through your super. Book a complimentary 15-minute chat at sky.com.au. That's skye.com.au. And they'll point you in the right direction.
So we've touched on a few things. Just before the break, we're talking about just global talent in general and how that has fundamentally changed because of technology. Now we spoke about Google Meet and the translation tools that are coming out. Let's talk a bit about AI because it is the talk of the town at the moment. But what are you doing within your business with AI? Has there been a big shift? Have you had to shift line items to invest heavily in AI? What does that look like for TOA Global?
Yeah, this is an interesting one because 5 years ago, our CEO at the time, the biggest project he probably brought into the business was to digitalize it. Like we were spreadsheets, we were like 15 different systems.
Yeah, right.
None of them talked to each other. So 5 years ago, or 5.5 years ago now, we went through a digital transformation. We've spent over 8 figures on it, like huge amounts of money. But I remember at the time our CEO and our CIO that put the program together and really mapped out what we call our TOA galaxy.
Yeah, right.
They said data's the new oil. And that was their big driver. It's like, yes, we're connecting all these systems, but we're going to be putting it into a central data depository. We're going to employ data scientists and engineers that are going to basically, this is really the project of bringing all the systems together and that. The data is the key part.
Yep.
You know, we didn't know that, 5 years later, 5.5 years later now, that's given us a massive benefit with being able to accelerate AI in our business. And, we have predictive analysis tools that can predict when a team member is going to resign. Like we've got our data's that good that we can run, models over it now. Our data science team are some of the best in the game and incredibly intelligent people. And, we can predict when a client's going to leave even. So it's, we're able to layer over. And I think the good thing is that when we started this journey 5 years ago, we've got all these knowledge articles and policies and, process and systems, and they all contradicted each other. And, we thought the agents a couple of years ago, well, the bots were horrible, and we just kept blaming the technology. And then we realized, well, we've got 5 policies that, talk about this, maternity leave, for example, but it was, one policy hadn't been updated for 4 years and had the old legislation. The other one said a complete opposite to the other one. So it wasn't the actual bots and agents, it was actually our data. So a big thing that we had to go through was that transformation of our knowledge articles and getting it all out of our team members' heads. We've got 500 support team members that work for our clients and team members.
Wow.
And it was a lot of it was in their head. It wasn't documented. It wasn't, structured in a way that we could train it. So for us, we took a pretty big investment 5 years ago to digitalize the business, but that digitalization was all centralized really around a central data lake. And we've got, I think, 9 or 10 team members in that data team.
Wow.
And it's cost us millions that we could have just put in the bottom line.
Yep.
But now we're set up to just accelerate, and we can run so much faster than our competitors. It's just a huge competitive advantage for us.
Yeah. So what's I'd love to dive into a lot of that, being from AI world. But in terms of, because like your business, it's interesting because you're in large business, but all of your clients, well, I'm going to suggest maybe the vast majority are all small business.
Yeah, 100%.
And so you work in this, growing this incredible business, hiring 200 people a month, 4,500. You're about to go global with all these team, but your client is the local accountant. And so how do you marry these two things? And like my mate uses you and he just thinks you guys are the best. He himself is just like this, watching this behemoth of a business in TOA Global, yet your support feels so personalized and so incredible. How do you marry those two things of running really fast in business, but also not losing the main thing, which is our clients are small accounting firms that we support?
Yeah, we've had this mantra for years. We want to be globally local.
Yeah,
so we want to be a big corporate. We want to have the impact globally, but we want to feel real local. And that's why we have account management. We've got 40 plus people in Australia. Like all of our competitors have the majority of their teams in the Philippines. Like they don't have anyone on the ground.
Yep.
So for us, it was around, and that's probably where I originally was this, but now our team is, we know our client intimately. Like we're really deep with our client and we understand that, most of them are 20 to 30 people firms.
Yep.
And a lot of them are a lot smaller than that. Yes, we've got out of the top 30 firms, probably 15 of them are our clients. So we've got, our biggest client's a $1.5 billion accounting firm, but it's not our normal client.
No.
We spend a lot of our time focused on who do we serve, and it's that type of client. And we employ people within our business to run it as a big global corporate business to be able to deliver the service, but we're very focused on who we actually serve. Because otherwise, and to be honest, I really struggle with this because I would be out there talking about what we're doing with our data scientists and stuff like that, and our clients would be looking at me like, we don't even have our process documented. Everything's in my head, Nick.
What's automation?
And I realized probably a couple of years ago, I'm like, no, I got to, I can't really talk about my experience of what we're doing. What I need to do is share what is relevant to them. And that's why I say to accounting firms is the first thing you need to do is get everything documented out of your head and onto paper so that you can train an agent, you can train a bot in the future. I said, we just do it on a different level because, we're a significantly bigger business.
Yep. And for the small accounting firm that's listening, and they're just still looking, they've got 100,000 in salary to spend this year. What's the sell to go offshore versus, getting someone local? What is that decision for them?
I think the decision is around capacity.
Yep.
For that one, you're going to get a junior for 60 to 80,000 salary you could get 2 to maybe 3 people in the Philippines for that same cost.
Yeah, right.
So instead of 40 hours worth of productivity, you got 120.
Yep.
Now, what statistically this has been proven by a friend in the industry in America that tracks all of the salaries is that data-wise, local teams actually grow quicker, meaning their careers advance faster when they've got global teams because they're not having to do a lot of that routine, mundane work, so they can accelerate their careers. So the benefit of that is that you can pay really well, like pay top dollar in Australia to get the best talent and not have them doing the work that, one, they don't like doing, and 2, they shouldn't be doing because it's well below what they're worth from an hourly rate point of view.
Yeah.
So I think the sell is around, get access to the best talent globally, people that love doing that level of work, and get the people locally doing the work that they should be doing and ultimately that they love doing.
Yep.
And everyone wins, and you get that cost arbitrage that, yes, you can employ someone here for $100,000, but if you could get 3 times the amount of hours worth of capacity, like, why wouldn't you do that for your local team to take some space from them to allow them to work on the things that truly matter?
Yeah. It's a similar conversation we have so we do voice AI. Why would you get someone, an AI agent, to answer the phone or to make phone calls? And I'm like, well, if you've got a receptionist that's sitting there for $70,000 or whatever it is a year, and you're a tradie, and all they do is answer the phones, well, wouldn't you want to hire another tradie to be able to execute on more work and just have AI to answer the phones? And so it's the exact same conversation of it's just resource allocation into another spot to get you the benefit and the outcome that you're actually ultimately wanting.
Yeah, right people. We say right people doing the right work for the right cost. And I really see agents and AI coming into this now is that they're just virtual people. Instead of having the receptionist in your office, you've now got an AI agent that is in your org chart.
Yeah.
So for me, it's around right people doing the right work, and that evolves and changes. Like what work our team were doing for their clients, 12 years ago was entering data into accounting systems. But, Xeros and MyObs and, QuickBooks, they do all of that now. Like the technology does it. And like no one sits there and goes, the technology's taken jobs away. It's always offshoring has taken the jobs away.
Yeah.
Roles evolve. And, I ask accountants all the time, is your world any easier? Like really, like are you any busier or are you quieter because of the advancements in cloud accounting over the last 12 years? And every single one of them will say we're busier than ever.
Yep.
We're just doing different work, and our team are doing different work. And that will evolve significantly with AI, and it'll probably advance it. But that's ultimately what we want is people want to do meaningful work. If you talk about retention and culture and, all those things, is people want to do meaningful work, and meaningful work is different for everyone. Like what I find meaningful and you find meaningful, others would be like, I could not live that life. And then I look at some of the roles that our team do and I'm like, I'd rather not work. I couldn't think of anything worse, but they love it. And that's the beautiful thing about business is everyone's got their own thing that they love doing. Just put them in the right seat and let them flourish. Let them be successful and make them successful in what they do.
Yeah. Give them enough runway. Don't micromanage them like you were talking about being a seagull or whatever you.
Yeah, seagull manager. You fly in, you shit on them because you just send them off rails. It's just, I think it's about empowering people to be the best they possibly can at what they want to do. And it's truly understanding where their skill sets are and where they want to be. And not everyone, I think this is a challenge that most founders have and entrepreneurs is we're ambitious people. Like we're very growth focused and we love change. Like I get bored if there's nothing, like if the world's like smooth and calm, it's like, how do I set a fire? That's sort of like how we're wired. We're wired for that.
Yeah.
But not everyone is. And I often think, majority of people are just happy to come to work, do meaningful work with great people and go home.
Yeah.
They don't have ambitions to then go home and watch 4 hours worth of YouTube or study these books. And like, not everyone's wired like us. And I think that was a challenging thing that I had to realize is that the majority of our workforce, they're A players, but that's the game they want to play is that they just want to come and do really good things at work and then go and have a really meaningful
life
it at
work
in a different way. Yeah. They're not wired like us. And that's why we do what we do, I guess.
It is confronting when you start to realize there is just you're wired a little different and the chaos feels calming.
Yeah, it is. I think we're firefighters to a degree. And I think, I really learned that from Gary Vaynerchuk when he put out some content a couple of years ago where I used to have this thing that, I work long hours, my team should.
Yeah, right.
Like I was really like, I'm not sitting here at 6 p.m. if you're not like, I'm paying you good money.
Yeah,
we're growing fast. You should be here. Like everyone should work long hours. And I had this, well, if you're not, you're lazy. And Gary Vaynerchuk said something along the lines of, the owner should be the one doing it. You shouldn't expect your team members to also do that because that's the difference between you and them working for you.
Yep.
So he changed my perception significantly around my expectations of the team. Like they're not going to give their life for the business. And a lot of them do, to be honest, even though they're not owners. But you shouldn't expect that. Like as an owner, we take the risk.
Yeah.
We have to do that. They don't have to. And we shouldn't expect them to.
Yeah. And everyone's wired differently. Like even when you're going through, remuneration or all these chats and you're like, this guy doesn't care for an extra $1. He's quite happy, but give him half a day off on Friday and, that's the dream.
100%.
And so trying to find ways in your team to really drive them and what is the driver for them, it's
understanding them.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key is that everyone's different and everyone's got different motivations and everyone's at different stages and phases within their life. And as a leader, that's our responsibility. But often we just throw a blanket over it. We'll give everyone a financial bonus at the end of financial year. Well, not everyone wants that.
No.
And I had this, I was mentoring some young entrepreneurs, early 20s. And on the weekend, one of them said, He goes, Nick, that happened to me. He goes, I paid the guys an extra $1,500 for the last week's worth of work because we had so much. They're a junk removal business. He goes, we were so busy. They got an extra $1,500 in their pay, which is like almost double. And he goes, one of them just turned around and said, I'd rather just not work next week. Can I have the week off? And he's like, no, because we've got just as much work. And that team member doesn't want the extra money. He wants time.
Yeah.
So without understanding,
I just have a week off.
It's like I'm done. Like I need a week now. I need to go and blow that money.
That's it's very different, and I'm finding that too across different. And every business has these. Every role is different, but you know, my engineers versus like my customer support versus someone in like conversation design, they are all wired very differently.
Yeah.
Engineers just want their fingerprints on cool tech. They've done good thing and they can point to and be like, I built that.
Yeah.
And so just give them the freedom to be able to do that. But designers want something different, customer support. And so in one team, one of them's asking, I want extra cash. And the other's like, can I just build other things? You know, like it's just just permission.
But that's, I think, where you win and lose is that right talent. And some roles you can't be that flexible, but others you can. But like I said, at the start, where businesses, the ones that win is just about talent density and strong talent. If you attract the best talent, retain the best talent, and get the most out of them, reach their full potential, and all these things we're talking about, the tactics to be able to help that, you win. And that's the great thing I learned is just, our role is to really drive a brilliant team of the best people in the market, and we will win because of it.
Yep. Well, I speak to Ella. She's my accountant. She's a TOA employee through Kindred Accounting. So Ella I talk to the most out of anyone in that business. Andrew, the owner, he's my mate, and so we chat every now and then at the gym. But it's interesting now seeing that in businesses is that the offshoring and having someone that is 100% in my business and cares for me because now they have a capacity to has completely changed my business too. And this is one thing that we haven't yet spoken about is the impact of having additional capacity in a small accounting firm has fundamentally changed not only their business, but it changes their client's business as well. Because you asked a question at the conference we're just at, whose accountant gets back to them within a day, and there's sparingly some hands that go up. Who's in like a couple of hours, I'm like at 10 minutes on Slack and I've got a response. Like that changes how I operate as much as it changes how Kindred Accounting operates as well. What have you loved the most about as your business has expanded and you're globally local? Is that the terminology?
Yeah, 100%.
What have you loved? And the growth's great, the profit's great, all the money, all of those things. What is the one thing that you just like, that is just beautiful? What's the one thing?
It's the impact that accountants have. And I think that, my parents lost everything and their accountant didn't give them the advice I believe they needed.
Yep.
He did what he got paid to do, which is their tax returns, but they needed more than that. And, that was a big driver for me going into this business was to make that impact. And for me, it's around, accountants aren't known for great customer experience. They're known for deep relationships. Like if you look at all the reports out there, like your accountant's one of the few people that you go to for advice. But the problem is that most accountants don't have the time to give proactive advice. It's reactive.
Yep.
And what we're able to do is help, increase capacity, create employment across multiple countries that make a massive impact to their families and the communities.
Yep.
But ultimately, small businesses drive economies. It is the small businesses in Australia and in every country that drive the economies. And accountants are the main advisors to that. So if they have the time to actually proactively help like you to run a better business and give you insights based on the financials and the metrics that they understand, you're going to run a better business. And if you run a better business, then you grow and that puts back into the economy. So, we're in this wonderful thing where we serve these people that if the more they serve their clients, the better everyone's going to be.
Absolutely. And it is cool having seen like my mate's accounting firm grow. So he left one and it was just started with him and an offshore guy called Powell, and now it's just like he's grown his local team, so like face-to-face, but also globally, he's brought them over last year, and it was just like for him, they just loved it. It was a game changer.
Yeah, it is. It's just one big global team, and you got different cultures, different experiences. You're making a massive impact on their lives. They're making a massive impact on your lives. Like we had a larger firm in Brisbane that, they're 20 odd people with us. That put an extra $1 million into their business of saved salary costs, which they could then invest in their local team.
Yep.
They could invest into the community. They made some more money as well. Like it didn't all go to profit, but they pay now 20% above market for all of their local team members and the 100 plus local team members. Like it has such a positive benefit. It's like, why would you not do it?
Yeah. In the final kind of moments if someone's listening to this, and whether they're an accountant or whether they're just small, medium enterprise, what would be the decision matrix that you would encourage them to do the next time they go to hire? Because I know you've spoken, if we touch on it, by hire by role, not by task, is one of the things that popped out in my research. What would you encourage a business owner to do when they're looking at their business now? And it's not just about local talent, it's now global. What is that decision matrix?
Yeah, I think the first one is build a people strategy, because you need a blend of global team members, local team members. You're always going to need local people.
Yep.
So you need global team members, you need local team members, and you need contract/freelancers to ramp up or down as your workload does. So I do 1.5-hour workshops on this, but building a people strategy is the key, because then you'll know, all right, well, what percentage of our staff should be global? And for a business with 20 odd people, up to about 50% of your workforce could be global.
Yeah, right.
So if you had 20 here, you could have 10 to 20 over there.
Yep.
And then that gives you the ability to then hire better people locally, because you got the cost arbitrage of those team members globally, but you're also going to hire real capability, and really gives you extra capacity you couldn't afford to hire now. So for anyone listening, it would be map out a people strategy and take into account what is the global aspect of it, and then what is the local team members that you need, and map that over really 3 to 5 years.
Yep. And that's why it's an 1.5-hour workshop, because it's a big job. It's not just because you got to really think, what does my business need? What does growth look like? What are the fundamental non-negotiables that I have in the next 3 years to get us to where we want to go? And some people don't even know.
And you don't want to put, and this is a danger, you don't want to put everyone offshore, because then in 3 to 5 years, you don't have the senior people you need locally. You have to hire them in, rather than grow them. So it is about balancing both. But if you do that, then you set yourself up for, because ultimately your existing team want to know that they have the opportunity to grow as well.
Yep.
They're not going to stick around if they don't have the opportunity to continue growing their skills, their incomes, and their career.
Yep.
So this, having a people strategy, allows you to sit down with each of them and say, look, this is where you are now. This is where we'd love for you to be in 5 years, and these are all the things that you need to do, and this is what we're going to do to help you get there.
Yep. My last question to wrap this up, I didn't send it to you, but if you had every small business owner in a stadium and you had a microphone right now and you had a minute, what would you say to them? What would be the big encouragement?
I think just continue.
Yeah.
I think business is hard, and we come up against walls at times. We fail probably more than we win. Don't worry about the outside noise. Just do the best that you can to serve the client that you're there to serve. And I think for me, it's all about the experience you give your clients and your team members. If you focus on those two things, you'll win.
Yeah.
And just do the work. You've got to do the work.
Yep. Got to do the work. Nick, it's been an absolute privilege to have you on here and speak to you. And I mean, I feel like I could ask you a million more questions, but time has run out. Nick, where can people find you? What's the next chapter for you? What do you?
I'm spending a lot of my time creating content, because I want to help founders to not have to go through the walls that I had to run through. So they can find me on all social media platforms, Nick Sinclair.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Thanks
great.
for having me, mate. It's I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Nick, you're a legend. We'll continue to chat. If you've just tuned in, this is Business. We've just been speaking to Nick Sinclair of TOA Global. I'm Adrian Smith. We'll chat to you next time.
Any advice is general financial advice only. which does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. Because of that, you should consider if the advice is appropriate to you and your needs before acting on the information. If you do choose to buy a financial product, read the Product Disclosure Statement, PDS, and Target Market Determination, TMD, and obtain appropriate financial advice tailored to your needs. Simo Interactive Pty Ltd, the publisher of this podcast, and Glenn James are authorised representatives of Money Sherpa Pty Ltd, which holds financial services license 451289. Opinions or comments from any guests on the podcast are theirs and not those of the host or the publisher or their respective license holders.